What if you could build a democracy where your rights weren't just based on promises, but were actually guaranteed by mass? That's the core idea behind ONG. It's a system that's not built on trusting people, but on the cold, hard, verifiable certainty of smart contracts. So let's dig in and see if the code really lives up to that promise. So, this whole thing really boils down to one massive question. Can a democracy actually be guaranteed by code? Can we build an online world where fairness isn't just a nice idea, but an immutable, cryptographically proven reality? ONG is betting that the answer is a resounding yes, and they believe the secret is something they call ultra-democracy. Now, to really get why this is such a potential game changer, we gotta look at the problem ONG is trying to solve. The whole world of online communities and DAOs, that's centralized autonomous organizations, is just buzzing with potential, right? But it's got a pretty fundamental flaw. And here it is. This slide just lays it out perfectly. In most DIOs today, the system is basically plutocratic. The more money you have, the more tokens you can buy, and the more voting power you get. Simple as that. Your voice is literally for sale. But ONG, they just throw that model right out the window. Their core principle is that your voice is not equal to your money. Your influence cannot be bought. So you might be asking, if it's not money, where does my influence come from? Well, in ONG's world, you earn it. Your reputation is what they call soul-bound, which is a fancy way of saying it's tied directly to you. You can't sell it, you can't transfer it, you build it up through proof of contribution, basically by doing useful stuff, and by earning non-transferable knowledge NFTs. What that really means is your voice becomes a reflection of your work and what you know, not how deep your pockets are. Okay, so that all sounds great in theory, but how do you actually enforce these rules? How do you make sure the system works as designed? That brings us to the technological heart of the whole operation, a piece of tech called the Model Context Protocol, or MCP. You can kind of think of it as the network's brainstem. The MCP is, for all intents and purposes, an AI-powered gatekeeper. Its entire job is to check every single action, whether it's from a person or another AI, against the community's own rules, which are all hard-coded into smart contracts. This is what ensures that AI agents can help out, they can propose things, but they can never, ever rule. Any action that's actually important gets put on pause until the community itself decides what to do through a proper vote. And here's how that works, broken down into 4 pretty simple steps. First, someone proposes a change. Instantly, the MCP steps in and hits the pause button on that action. Then, it automatically kicks off a community vote. And finally, and this is the most important part, only after a cryptographic proof of that vote's legitimacy is verified on-chain does the MCP give the green light. It's a completely trustless system of checks and balances, and it's all run by code. So what is the code that holds all of this together? Well, ONG calls it the governance spine. It's a set of really specific smart contracts that basically write the rules of the road into immutable code. This is where the magic really happens. All right, let's take a closer look at this governance spine, because this is really the engine room. It all starts with the proof of contribution contract, which is the system that keeps track of who has actually earned the right to have a voice. Then, when a proposal gets made, the AI governance validation contract acts as the first checkpoint for the MCP, making sure no action violates the community's constitution. If a vote is actually needed, the community voting contract takes over, managing the secure, private voting process we're about to see. And the whole thing is built to scale. The dynamic sub-DAO contract lets new groups pop up and instantly inherit this entire democratic toolkit. They all work together to create this amazing machine for fair, automated governance. Okay, so we've seen the architectural blueprints. We've looked at the smart contracts. Now let's see how this whole machine actually works when a real community vote happens. How does ONG make sure every single vote is both totally private and completely verifiable by anyone who wants to check? The journey of a single vote is this fascinating cryptographic dance. It's designed to solve one of the biggest paradoxes in digital democracy. How do you protect a voter's privacy while also proving to everyone that the final count is 100% correct and that nobody cheated? ONG tackles this head-on in 4 key stages. Let's walk through this because it's brilliant. First, a snapshot of all the eligible voters is taken and published on-chain as a Merkle root. Think of it as the official, tamper-proof list of who gets to vote. Second, when you cast your private ballot, your device creates a unique nullifier. This is what proves that you voted without revealing how you voted, and crucially, it makes it impossible to vote twice. Third, and this is where the real magic happens, a zero-knowledge proof, a ZK snark, is created. This is like proving you know a secret password without ever having to say the password out loud. The ZK snark proves to the entire network that the final vote count is mathematically perfect, without revealing a single individual vote. And finally, that proof gets sent to the community voting contract, which verifies all the math on-chain. Only then is the result locked in as legitimate. Okay, so let's zoom back out for a second. What's the real impact of building a democratic system on this kind of foundation? Well, it all comes down to replacing a very, very fragile human element, trust, with something much, much more reliable. And honestly, this one quote just captures the entire philosophy perfectly. Private ballots, public math. Voted, signed, and visible. Your vote is your secret, but the process that counts it is completely public. Every major decision is put to a vote, every action is cryptographically signed, and every result is visible on a public ledger for anyone to see. You don't have to trust the people in charge. You just have to trust the math. And that really leaves us with a final, pretty profound thought. If a community can truly guarantee that its rules are enforced fairly, and that its collective decisions are made privately and verifiably, what are the limits? If we can actually remove the need for trust and replace it with mathematical certainty, what can't we build together?